is they're examining the records. They're providing their findings. Congress has to weigh in on those.
They're firing people.
This works. If you're just upset because Donald Trump has Elon Musk doing it, then that doesn't make any sense. We have to make sense.
So apparently the anti-Doge, anti-Elon protests are back, which is kind of hilarious because I didn't know where they went for the past 2 weeks. We haven't really heard much about them. So I wasn't sure if the Democrats got sleepy, they ran out of energy, and they needed a little bit of a nappies, okay? I'm not sure if because it was close to tax day, a lot of the donations and financing, we'll say, dried up for a little bit, and now it's making a return. Not exactly sure, but nonetheless, tonight, Congressman Byron Donalds, who is apparently running for the governor of Florida here, hosted a town hall of his own. And as usual, the Democrats engaged in their typical behavior, which is, grab 10 of your friends, scream at the congressman and be like, hey, screw you, man, Elon Musk, hey. Record that, post it on TikTok, leave, and then go out saying that, hey, look, there's this organized resistance against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Regular Americans are rising up because 10 of my friends went to a Republican district and screamed and left. So, once again, I guess we are supposed to sit here and pretend that, first of all, that any of this is real, that it's like not astroturfed or organized whatsoever, right? The organic American uprising against Donald Trump because, some Democrat activist groups organized this on Facebook.
Hi, can I do something?
Oh, I'm just documenting you guys putting all your protest stuff in a van. It's very nice of you. How far did you travel to come to protest today?
That's not really your concern.
I'm just a journalist, so I'm just curious,
Okay. Are you with a news agency?
Yeah, independent.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any questions that I can answer you for?
Yeah, where'd you guys come from today?
We live here in the DC area.
Then why do you have a van full of stuff? People wearing masks.
There's a road here.
Yeah,
and roads are great for transporting things and traveling. So
just I can videotape on a sidewalk, so.
No, I'm gonna stop you from videotaping him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna interrupt you guys. I'm just
trying to understand.
Just interesting, you guys are putting everything in a van, and you're getting really mad about it. That looks really suspicious.
I'm just trying to make sure that you have, all the answers that you would.
Are you guys paid?
So.
How much did Soros or Reid Hoffman pay you to come protest Trump today? Come on. Was it good? Did you get paid well? I'm a journalist, so well, yeah, how much are you guys getting paid?
This is my career. How much are you paying you?
Do you guys have fun?
Oh, wait, how much are paying you?
Like I said, I'm a journalist. My pay doesn't matter. I'm here to document the rally.
Okay, well, the rally is over.
So do you guys get paid today?
No. For you? For a good day?
Are you sure?
Yep.
Positive?
But even number two, I think the bigger theme here, forget whether or not it's sincere or real, astroturfed or not, even though it is that I still do not understand how the Democrats believe this is good behavior, like this makes them look good or more appealing to the American people. Because you may remember there was this whole introspection period after the 2024 election where a lot of Democrats said to themselves, hey, we need to seem more relatable to people. Hey, why did we lose the working class? Why did we lose white voters and male voters and all this stuff? And apparently they think their solution to win back normal people is to get out there and scream like lunatics, because that's what everyone wants to do in their spare time. Let's all show up and scream at a congressman. Nonetheless, we'll tell you about this and more of the anti-Doge protest today, because again, apparently they're making something of a comeback here. And yeah, newsflash, they're just as hilarious as they were back in the beginning. Okay, they've always been a joke. This has always been a collection of some crazy freaks all getting together and causing problems. So we'll tell you all about that in today's video, folks. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. If you are new, you subscribing is the best way to support our work and ensure that we can keep doing these videos. And with that said, let's just get into it, right? Let's just take a look at the way the Democrats are framing this, and then I'll show you the actual video. You guys can decide for yourself here. Okay. So from the rapidly dwindling and politically irrelevant Florida Democrat Party, right? The Florida Democrats here, their official account put out here. They're celebrating this, right? They said, the crowd erupts at Byron Donalds Town Hall in deep red Lee County, Florida tonight. Lots of people yelling and walking out. Republicans can't defend Doge is what they're saying. Okay, keep in mind that caption. Let's now take a look and watch this video.
I don't agree. What the Doge is doing is they're examining the records. They're providing their findings. Congress has to weigh in on those.
They're firing people.
This works. If you're just upset because Donald Trump has Elon Musk doing it, then that doesn't make any sense. We have to make sense. We have to agree on certain things. I don't agree.
So I love that one guy. He's firing people. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, yes, that's correct. Yes, so that is one thing we will not deny or backtrack or walk back on. Yes, indeed. People are being fired within the federal government. Yes, that's what we wanted. That's what we actually voted for. People who work on your tax dollars are being fired to cut down on waste. What's the issue? Okay. But anyways, as you can see, right, this is just the stupidity we're asked to engage in here by the Democrats. And we're supposed to sit here and pretend like this is a real thing and this is so believable. Okay. So lots of yelling and people walking out. Yeah, because clearly what happened here is those people organized that they were going to walk out. Like, oh, people just got up and decided to all walk out at once. Okay, yeah, seriously. Secondly, lots of yelling, but Republicans can't defend Doge. Well, if you actually take a listen to the video, right, what is Byron Donalds doing? Defending Doge. Okay, you can hear what he's saying, but the point is, this is what they always do. By the way, all these town hall protests, they always say this: Republicans cannot defend Doge. It's like, no, you ask them a question about Doge, they respond to you with the answer, you start screaming over while he tries to give you the answer, and then you're like, he won't answer my question while I'm screaming and I just didn't hear the response. That's exactly the behavior you're seeing here. And we know that is true because if you actually take a listen to parts of the town hall where he wasn't getting screamed at by like these 10 or so disruptors in the audience, Byron Donalds literally does sit down and explain Doge, okay? So, keep in mind, we keep being told, oh, the Republican politicians, they refuse to explain or justify what's happening. They can't do it. Okay, well, here you go. Okay, here's Byron Donalds explaining and defending Doge, and then the professional agitators in the crowd are just screaming at him. Check it out.
So how this works is the president is allowed to have special employees. Every president has basically had these special employees. They're tasked with specific duties, specific responsibilities. Some of them have been tasked with going overseas, trying to negotiate climate policy. That was John Kerry when he was the climate czar under President Biden. And in this instance, Elon Musk is essentially the head of the Doge that Donald Trump has set up in his administration. In terms of oversight from Congress, that's much more of an appropriations aspect. What Doge is doing right now is they're going through every agency and they're examining any contracts or any lack of efficiencies in spending federal dollars. This is something that I'm going to answer you. Now, I'm going to answer you, but if you want to know, it's okay, but I just want to answer you. Are you going to allow me to answer the question? Okay. So, like I said, what they are doing is under the directions of the President of the United States. If you're going to talk about what oversight is doing, we actually have to let the Doge committee, the Doge department, actually finish its work. What they are examining right now is inefficiency in the federal system. This is something that President Obama wanted to do when President Obama was elected president of the United States. You can do what you want to, but those are the facts. When you go back in time, back to 2009, then President Obama famously said that he wanted to examine efficiencies, or lack thereof, in the federal government. Elon Musk is doing the exact same thing. So, if you're going to ask what the Oversight Committee is doing, the Oversight Committee is doing a responsible thing. We are letting Doge complete its work. Most of the budget cuts that Doge will present have to go through the appropriations process. And so when it goes to the Appropriations Committee, any adjustments that are made to federal spending will occur there, and they'll get an up or down vote in the Appropriations Committee first, and then on the floor of the House, also on the floor of the Senate. That is the process.
So I know that parts of it were a little bit hard to hear, but more or less what Byron Donalds gave you for 2 minutes and 18 seconds was actually a pretty detailed explanation and justification for everything that Doge is doing, right? An actual explanation of the process that Democrats keep sitting around and telling us supposedly we are incapable of defending. Now, I think what's also notable about this video is that when you actually sit down and like watch the full thing, what you notice is Byron, you know, despite this narrative, Byron has a bunch of people in the audience who are supporters of his. They're literally clapping. In fact, I think this video at the end, it seems like that most of the people who are engaged and not just sitting there listening quietly, most of the people who did something were clapping, and the crowd of agitators here is actually a fairly small minority. At least that's what it would seem. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell, obviously, but nonetheless, okay. You know, and look, okay, it's a Republican district, whatever, but should I sit there then and be like, hey, look, about 20 people in the audience were clapping for Byron Donalds very vocally here. Look, there's a grassroots, you know, MAGA uprising against the protesters here. Because look, and that actually kind of did happen because, you know, in the end, you had a bunch of people clapping and like drowning out the protesters. But nonetheless, should I run around with this video and say, look, Byron Donalds is so popular. Look, the Doge and MAGA agenda is so popular. Or would, you know, that whole metric be kind of a stupid way to gauge any of this? But nonetheless, okay, again, just central theme there that you're seeing. Yeah, he answered the question. He's defending Doge. You just scream at him every time he tries to answer and then think it's some type of dunk or own that you look like a disruptive child that has absolutely no idea how to behave yourself. I mean, that's just the objective fact here. But here apparently is another video. Okay, as you can see, Ed Krasenstein. This is a liberal pundit who apparently is now going to be moving to the UK, right? They're actually expatting because they said America's gone so badly under Trump, to which I say bye-bye, okay? To Ed Krasenstein, bye-bye. But anyways, apparently he says the Byron Donalds Town Hall in Fort Meyers in Naples, Florida tonight is not going so well. Oh. Byron Donalds is losing his temper over someone asking if he's read a book. These Republican town halls just keep getting worse. Okay, let's actually see the video. Let's see the video where he supposedly loses his mind. All right.
Have you read the book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson?
Have you read the book of my life?
Caste.
Whoa, stop. Don't educate me about my life, sir. Don't do that. Don't, sir. Hold on.
What?
Please, hear me on this. I like how everybody's shouting at me, a black guy on stage with a microphone in his hand saying, have you read this book, read this book, read this book, read this book? Don't marginalize my life and what I've done. Don't do that. Don't marginalize other black people. Don't do that. Don't marginalize theirs. Do you know how many black men in America stand on?
So yeah, I once again ask, okay, you know, this is being so celebrated by the Democrats. They're like, hey, look at this grassroots uprising. How exactly does this make you look good? Okay, like, I don't know. I'm not a political consultant. I would love to hear the answer to this, but just from any like strategic perspective, please, Democrats, explain to me how you think this video right here makes you look good. You're sitting, you know, there's like a handful of people in the audience. You look at a lot of these videos, most people in the audience are either clapping for Byron Donalds or they're just sitting there trying to actually listen quietly. And you're just this handful of like loud, you know, teenagers in the back of the classroom. You're just screaming a bunch of stuff, like shouting it down, being disruptive, and then posting on social media, haha, he wouldn't answer my question that he couldn't even hear because everyone was screaming at him. Yeah, is this something that is going to apparently fix your like 27% approval rating? You know, this right here, like average swing independent voters in Arizona and Wisconsin watch a video like this and like, I'm very compelled by the Democrats' arguments. You know, I voted for Trump in 2024, but, you know, the moment that random people were screaming at town halls, I said, look, now that's a party I can get behind. Really? You know? or you guys just look like idiots. You guys just look like clowns, and you guys, frankly, just come off as completely annoying. Well, that's the honest truth. But honestly, I encourage, hey, Democrats, keep acting like complete fools. Keep acting like morons. Keep looking really stupid because, you know, this type of behavior right here, needless to say, I don't know how far it's going to continue to take you. Anyways, in other Doge news today, guys, apparently this guy right here, Robert Reich, you may be familiar. He is, I believe he worked for Bill Clinton. Now he's just an obnoxious person on the internet. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe this is one that was not independently organized or funded, because take a look at the supposedly dramatic and grassroots protest that Robert Reich also hosted today.
from the Trump regime that if it accepted that best or near best private university in America or the world would have lost its integrity.
Now, look, I'll admit, I'm not a tall guy myself, okay? I'm pretty short, but the optics of this guy, like, what the heck? Like, just standing there. There's just people walking around behind him, okay? But anyways, this actually took place today, apparently, at, I believe, UC Berkeley. So, yeah, that is the current state of the anti-Trump, anti-Doge, anti-Elon protests that are, just supposedly just going so well, guys. And, I think the central conclusion you also come to find at many of these events is, yeah, these protesters themselves, I don't know if they're exactly the best ambassadors for the Democrat Party. And, once again, if the central accusation by the right wing, by MAGA, by the Republicans is that these protesters are like paid off or like professional in some way, I have to say, recent videos we were seeing of this seem to perhaps, I don't know, vindicate that narrative. Check it out.
So what makes Trump a fascist? What makes Trump a fascist?
He does things without
Yeah, talk loud. I don't have my mic on.
I'm not really into interviews.
Sorry?
He just does everything he wants and not following laws or he's a convicted felon, that's all I know.
But your sign says he's a fascist, and I'm just curious what makes him a fascist.
Well, one of the things is that he's trying to control the media, right?
Say that again?
He's trying to control the narrative.
How is he trying to control the media? Doesn't every president try to control the narrative?
I mean, they're not sending their best, guys. They're not sending their best, are they? I mean, what even happened with that first guy? Is he paid? Or was he just walking by on the street and they're like, hey man, hold this sign, join the protest? He's like, I don't really know why I'm here. I don't know, but great party you guys have, Democrats. Definitely a passionate uprising of sincere people, 100% going on here. And lastly, what we'll cover today is apparently what they are protesting, okay? In recent news, apparently also Doge, the recent work from home order, the revocation of it, right? You might remember that Trump on his first day of office, one thing he said is the federal workers have to actually come back to the office. Apparently, right, these federal workers that they're claiming, oh, wow, they're being bullied so much. They're being asked to show up to work. They're being asked to report on what they actually did during their jobs in the past week, all this cruel behavior. Apparently, they refuse to show back up to work, right? They say, oh, it's cruel or unjust to make me go to my office and actually do my job. But apparently they actually showed up at the office to protest against Trump's mandate. So the great irony here being that they claim it's too difficult or too much for them to show up to work in person, but they'll also show up to work in person to protest, just not to actually work. And then it's like, yeah, when that guy in the beginning says they're firing people, they're firing people because this is largely what we are dealing with here, guys.
It even goes further than that, Maria. Things as outrageous as trying to get workers back into the office. We actually had workers that showed up at the office to protest having to come back to work at the office. So we're finding all kinds of things with the Doge work, the squeal work that I have done for 10 years. And thank heavens we have President Trump and Doge, the Office of Government Efficiency, that's finally cracking down on these types of activities.
Yeah, so just to be clear, that is exactly what the Democrats are protesting, okay? They can claim it's about Social Security or something, despite the fact that, legitimate Social Security payments for people who actually deserve it are not being taken away, nor does the administration even have the unilateral authority to take it away. No, in reality, this is what the Democrats are protesting, okay? They probably largely understand that I think there are two major political constituencies that form the backbone of the party. It is not just federal workers, but I think public workers in general who probably work a really lax job, collect a big pension, and basically leech off of the government dollars. That is number one. And then number two, I don't know, is probably the people who are receiving fraudulent, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment, welfare, etc., which is why a Department of Government Efficiency that is primarily tasked here with doing those two things, right? With cutting down on the federal workforce by getting rid of the fat, the waste, the people who shouldn't be working there. And number two, going after fraud in our entitlements programs. Gee, yeah, you don't say. You really wonder why they're going out and protesting here. So let's be clear about that. That is indeed what they are doing, okay? When they sit here and shout, oh, you're firing people, how dare you? That's the type of people we're dealing with. The people who, again, apparently cannot be asked to show up to work, but they'll show up to work to protest, just not actually to work. Okay, so total vindication, I would say, about the current state of our federal workforce, and hence why Doge is so necessary. So I don't know. There you have it, though. Apparently, millions of Americans who work in the private sector, where they're expected to actually show up to work, actually do their jobs. You know, they're actually subject to being fired or laid off in many cases. You know, the Democrat message to all of us normal people is like, hey, look, you have to feel bad. You have to be sympathetic for these people who work on your taxpayer salary, don't really do anything, collect huge pensions, and they're just chilling, right? But no, they're being laid off. You have to care about this to the utmost. Who cares when you get laid off, right? Who cares when during the COVID pandemic, millions of workers were laid off and declared non-essential? No. You got to care about the person doing diversity studies in the Department of Agriculture, you know. But that's what we're dealing with here. It's the truth. All right, with that said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.